Welcome everyone to the first event in our case study series. We're extremely excited to share these stories with you. My name is Eric Garza. I'm an Onshape representative here at EAC. And in today's and future live events, our technical expert, Bill Schlund, will help us tell a story highlighting a current customer. We'll also highlight their design challenges and how Onshape helped them to overcome these challenges while also giving us a live look into the SaaS tool itself. As every company has its own unique problems, I urge you to think about how you can relate to the following story. And if any design challenges in your organization are leading to larger business issues like loss of customers or revenue, maybe you're dealing with the high cost of ownership currently, or perhaps your competition is even beating you to the market. Our case study today covers a company called Meter and their quest to rapidly design emergency ventilators in the midst of peak COVID supply chain issues. And if you have any questions during our live event here, please type them in the chat and we will address them at the end. So there are three areas we will cover today, which are collaboration, permissions, and versioning. So let's jump into the case study. During the early days of COVID, the US government approached Meter with a request to design affordable ventilators. In addition to their supply chain issues, one major problem was that the team of 50 designers and engineers were forced to work from home given the stay-at-home orders in place. Now, normally this kind of undertaking would require expensive and time-consuming home setup of engineering workspaces. Meter, however, was able to avoid any hardware requirements, high costs, or software downloads using the Onshape SaaS tool, saving them tens of thousands of dollars or more and allowing them to begin designing right away. Now, the team of 50 was required to collaborate on the project to finish as soon as possible. As you all know, CAD collaboration typically involves, say you're creating or iterating a design, you're saving files, you're renaming each new file, sending emails back and forth, or waiting for something to be checked in or checked out of your vault. All the while hoping that the correct version is being worked on. And we'll get to versioning soon, but for now, Bill, can you please show us how Onshape helped Meter to collaborate in real time?
Sure, Eric, thanks. Hello, everybody. I'm going to be going through an example. I'm not going to be using the Meter representation of the ventilator, but I've got my own here and just kind of highlight how I envision things starting off. Typically, when we're designing a product, we might start off in kind of a 2D representation. What we're doing here is we're kind of sketching out and laying out the different subsystems that we'll need in our ventilator. And we can see the outline of the ventilator here. So once we do that, we'll expand those out into 3D space. So now we have some space claims for these subsystems, so we can start working with that. Now, up until now, we've done the same type of things you could really do in any CAD system. But what allowed Meter to be more successful, to do things quicker, is what Onshape does and leverages the capability to share things. So there's a button right up here on the right. It's called Share. Right now, I'm the only one that has access to this. And really think about this as a whitelist. I invite people in to take part in our particular, in this case, the development of a ventilator. So I start to type in names of people that are in our company. You know, add Nick in here. Eric, I'm going to add you in as well. And once we have you set in, we can kind of control what you do. Right now, we're going to allow you to edit. I'm going to say, let's share those. So now we can see that it's shared with both people. Eric probably just got an email saying that I'm sharing it with him. Nick did as well. So let's take a look at some other things that we can do as far as sharing. I can share with teams of people. So I could have a variety of different groups. We could have an engineering group, a manufacturing group, managers, things like that. I can also invite individuals, and I can do some link sharing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But right now, we're just going to share this with a couple of people, and I'm going to close that out. So as I mentioned, they get an email notification with a hyperlink saying that Bill has invited you to partake in this. One of the things that I've done here is I wanted to share this with Nick. And I'm also going to include some information using our kind of online communication tool inside of Onshape. And I'm going to address this specifically to Nick. So if I just didn't put his name in here, then Eric and anyone else who I was sharing this with would see our comments back and forth. So typically we're used to exchanging emails or post-it notes or things like that. This is capturing all the information in our development here. So I'm going to just say, can you help with the output manifold? And I know Nick's going to say, what's the output manifold? So one of the things I can do is I can come over here. Let's go in and tag the output manifold. So this is the space claim for that output manifold. And then I'm also going to say, well, let's also include maybe a sketch of that. So to kind of highlight this, I'm going to do a little redlining. I could say, this is the output manifold. And I can attach notes and things like that. And that also gets included, as you can see here with that. I can even assign this to Nick. So this is a formal way of assigning him a task so that he can finish that task, he can check it off, and we can keep track of the things that have been completed. So now that I've done this, I'm going to send this over to Nick. So Nick not only gets an email, but he gets a hyperlink. I'm going to show you Nick's screen. I'm going to bring him in right now, and he's going to do a refresh. So this is currently the products that he's been working on. When he does a refresh here, we can see that we've added our new ventilator. So Nick can see that right away. He can click on it, and he's brought into the ventilator that we are working on right now. Down here on the bottom, you can kind of see, he can see where I am. So I am in the part studio. So he can click on that, and we can see the images that the Nick sees here. One of the things that we can do is we can share that. So for instance, let's kind of close out our window here for a second. Pop up Nick. He could, I could also zoom in, and you notice that where I zoom in and where I spin it around, Nick sees the exact same thing on his screen. So we can also, he's obviously independent as well, but we are working on the same product at the same time, which is really pretty amazing. So let's go back and take a look at Nick here and see some of the work that he's going to do. He can see the information that I've sent him over here, the redlining. You can see what's highlighted, but now he knows that he needs to work on this component here, and you can see that it's highlighted for him here as well. So no ambiguity here. And the thing is that we don't have to be in the same location, co-located. And that's really what we're talking about here, is the capability to collaborate across different areas. So Nick's going to take that space claim we see here for the output manifold, and now he's going to start working with it. So one of the things he's going to do is kind of come in and say, well, let's start making a sketch. So he knows in 3D space, the thing that he needs to create is represented here in this. So I'm going to also create as Nick a couple other different sketches here. And what we can do then is just come in and say, let's go in and maybe hide the manifold space claim right now and start creating some geometry. So we'll select on this and say, let's extend this out and maybe give it a value. And then we have this specified. One of the next things I'm going to do is maybe let's do some revolve. So we have to put some MPT type threads on here. So I'm going to come in, or really fittings. So I'm going to come in and say, let's do some revolves. And I'll say, let's take this, let's revolve it around here. And we're going to make this a new part. So I'll say that's a new component. And then I can come in and say, let's go in and create another one. And we're going to do this and revolve that, make that a new part as well. And then finally, let's go in and select another component and revolve this around and make a new component as well with that. So now we've got our components sit here. Let's take a look at this last guy just to make sure that I've created this as a new component. And we can go in and say make some changes, but this is really the beginning of the design that Nick's going to be working with. So now that we have this, he can kind of close out. And what I'll be seeing in real time are things updating as he's starting to do this. So I'm going to go over and as he comes in here and starts working with things, we're going to say, let's take a look at the output manifold that Nick has been working with. I'm going to say, let's go in kind of come out here. Let's say, see his work there. And then as other people continue to design things and develop things, we can start to take a look at those components as well. So I come in and say, the blower has been evolved. This is happening in real time as people are creating and updating things. We can see those happen in real time. So one of the things we can do as well is come over here and kind of take a look at the different components that we're working with, see them in real time, be able to interact with one another as we saw before with the things here, and we can just say, well, let's maybe change this, move something around. We can catch this in real time. This is allowing us to create products at a much faster pace because we're not having to check in, check out, we're not having to sync with a database or anything like that. So Eric, kind of to answer your question, this is how Meter was able to take this and be able to update and create a product much faster than anyone else because they had this collaboration capability.
Bill, that's great. Thank you so much for doing that. So obviously this is a special case and not every team is required to work from home. But even if everyone is in the office, Bill highlighted there how real-time collaboration allows a project to have multiple users iterate and rapidly and provide real-time feedback. Bringing that back to the company as a whole, we're looking at saving the company time while getting the product to the market much faster than with traditional CAD tools. Now, many designers work with external partners. The Meter team, for example, they needed to share work with their sheet metal partner. Now, typically for an external partner to have the ability to view, edit, or comment on designs, special software would need to be installed. Or you're stuck, once again, emailing files back and forth, risking your IP ending up in the wrong hands. Bill, I'm going to ask you here, will you show us how then Meter utilized Onshape's link sharing tools and permissions to further add to their agile design process?
Sure. Great point. So the ability to share things is coupled with the capability to control what you're sharing. You don't want to give full access to everybody. You want the people to be able to see things that need to see things, to be able to see them, people that need to do things, to be able to do things. So you'll notice when I first created and invited Nick and Eric to our design here, they have edit capabilities. So they can do a variety of different things. Now, in my case, Nick has finished what he's been doing. I no longer need him to be part of our design team. He's done his work. All I have to do is hit the check mark next to him. He no longer has access to this. As I mentioned before, this is a whitelist. So I'm inviting who I want in and who I don't. Another thing that we can do is I can give Eric some more capabilities. So one of the things he talked about was link sharing, or what we can do is link documents to other documents, maybe use our ventilator inside of another assembly if we wanted to do that. I'm not going to allow him to delete anything. I don't want anything going away. But again, we can kind of, on a more minute level, control exactly what's happening here. Another thing I can do is, our manager, Sierra, is always asking us for stuff to, where are we? Are we getting done with things? So I'm going to invite her. Let's see here. There she is. And in this case, Sierra, we're just going to allow her to view things, right? So she can view things, she can add comments like I was doing before, back and forth with Nick. So she can take a look, keep up to date on everything that's going on. And if she needs to make some comments or to view the comments that were going on, she can see that as well. So I'm going to share that with Sierra. Now, up until now, everything that I've been sharing with people have been people that have Onshape licenses. And the thing is, there's just other people that might not have an Onshape license that still need to see this. Let's say the shop floor. Shop floor maybe doesn't have Onshape, but they need to see the PDFs, the drawings that we create, so they can get ready for that. Or maybe we have some partners that are outside of our company that need to see things, maybe so we can get some quoting or things like that done. So we have a button right here called link sharing. I'm going to turn that on. What that allows me to do is share as much or as little of this information with anyone I want. They don't need a license. They don't need to download software. They don't need a plugin. All they need is an email, and they can access this. So I can send this link to them. They can click on it, and they'll be able to see, in my example, maybe just a PDF, or we could share the whole design with them so they can take a look at that and kind of figure out exactly if they're going to do a quote or if they're going to partner with us or anything like that. So, and these are people that aren't part of the Onshape environment in our company, but we can still share the information with them. And it's very, very easy for them to take and make use of that. So Eric, this is one of the ways that we can kind of control exactly who is working with this, what they're doing when they do get there, and then we can share it with a lot of people that just aren't typically our company people, that we just still do need to get information out to them.
Yeah, thanks again, Bill. Helpful tool for sure. We'll move on here. So versions and iterations are the norm during most, if not all, product development cycles. Now, the Rise Emergency Ventilator went through 6 design iterations in 3 weeks. That's the equivalent of introducing a new and improved version every 3.5 days. With Onshape's real-time built-in data management, everyone on the design team can see changes as they happen, as Bill kind of touched on earlier. A comprehensive edit history tracks who made what change and when, allowing teams to instantly revert back to any prior state of the design if needed. Bill, will you please show us how Onshape's version control allowed Meter to ensure 100% accuracy of the designs released to manufacturing?
Yeah, great point. And this is really the third leg of the stool. You know, we're giving people access to work real time with us, and we're also giving them control over what things they can do, but now we need to also control the things that are being created. So let's take a look at a little bit of the history of Onshape here. So I'm looking at the history of this ventilator, and you notice that here's the history tree. We started out right here, and where we are right now at this minute, we're up here at what we consider the main moment there. But you notice I have a couple different, there's an idea kickoff time, and again, everything that we've ever done is stored in Onshape. So we can see those listings here of the different things that have been created and used while we've been working in Onshape. And we can go back to any moment in time that we want and take a look at that. So total information is stored all the time. There is no save button. You will never find a save button in Onshape because everything is saved all the time. What we do is we find particular moments in time that are significant, and we might put those in as a version. So like I said, I have a kickoff version here. We have the space claims where we created those 3D space claims. That was the next version. Maybe at this point, now that we got the subsystems in, I'm going to say let's create a new version. And this version we can call is, I don't know, we could just say the subsystems are placed. So now we've captured that particular moment. We'll see that appear here in the history tree. And the thing is that now that we have that, we can go back to this at any point. One of the other things I could do is I could go to this moment in time and I could say, let's branch off and let's make another version, a branch on this. And maybe for our branch, it's the new power supply and create that. And so instead of doing a save as and having a bunch of other files, you know, spread all over who knows where, what we're doing is we're just creating a branch. We can work on this, create maybe some particular type of power supply, an idea that we have. And if we like that, we can always merge it in with the main branch. Otherwise, we could just leave it out there as another idea that we tried that really didn't make the cut. So there's a great capability in here to not only manage your different times in development, but then also to branch off and try different ideas without ever losing that information. This will become the permanent part of the history tree. We'll always be able to come back and visit that. So one of the other things that we mentioned before, and we saw things updating in real time, is that we can input in or add in some other components. So in this case, I'm going to say, let's insert another component that's not part of the things that we've been working on, but it's a standard component. And we'll say an assembly. Here we have an O2 sensor, and I'm going to pick a particular version of that. So you can see there's an initial version, there's this V1, and we're going to use that version in our design here. So that brings it in to our assembly here. And I'm just going to say, let's just take him, place him right there. And then I'll just come in and say, let's maybe line up this face with, down here. So now we have our O2 sensor placed. We can kind of see it here. Again, I kind of did a planar constraint, so I can just kind of move it around. What we're doing is just kind of positioning this so that at a later point, we can kind of finalize this as we add more and more components to it. Now I added version 1 here. You'll notice over in the model tree, there's a little indicator next to it, meaning this is a versioned part. So we brought in V1 of this particular part. Let's take a look at something. I'm gonna go over to that O2 sensor here. This is it. And I'm gonna come in and say, let's grab some faces here. We'll say, let's maybe move those. And we'll say, let's translate them. And what we're doing is we want to make a little smaller version of this. It takes up less room, more compact. Maybe we can come in here and say, let's change the color, make it, I don't know, kind of a green color. So now we've made this other variation of this, a little smaller, more compact version, maybe more modern, something new that's happened. So in a case like this, I'm going to come in and say, well, let's make this a new version, right? So we'll just call it version 2 and say create that. So in the history tree, if we look back at this, we can see that there's the version 1 and then the version 2. Again, version 1, we take a look at that, looks like this. And version 2, again, as we develop that, looks like this. So let's go back to our assembly. One of the things you'll notice now is that that icon has changed, right? And what it's saying is there's a newer version available. So it just doesn't automatically update things. It gives the designer the choice to look at different versions and decide which one that person wants. So you can simply click on this and say update it. And what that's going to do is swap out version 1 with the newer version, the updated version, version 2. And this is what we call linking. What we want to do is we're linking different products together. And the thing is, if they do change, and you notice that now the icon has changed back, basically telling us that we have the latest version of that. We're using that in our design. But if I needed to go back to the old version or some other version, I can just select on this icon again and pick the other version that I want to use. So it's a very, very powerful tool, not only to share with everybody, to control what capabilities the people we are inviting to our product is, but then also to have products update in a predictable fashion. And those are all the powerful tools that are here in Onshape. So Eric, I'd like to throw it back to you now.
Thanks again, Bill. So you're probably wondering, what are the results? What happened? We'll get to that here in a second. The CEO at Meter says, quote, I think about the old world of CAD where you end up exporting zip files and all this crazy stuff. You send the wrong thing and half your parts don't fit. It was great to see Onshape help us deliver such a streamlined design, end quote. And so getting into the results, all these features helping out this company to iterate rapidly and design rapidly. A couple of turnouts that were important. The Rise Emergency Ventilator was designed and manufactured in 21 days. That's a development cycle that typically would require months to complete. And the second part is the industry average cost of a hospital ventilator is anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 per unit. The Meter team was able to produce the Rise ventilator for under $1,000, which further proves how Onshape saves time and money for our customers as well as your own customers. And I'm not seeing any incoming questions at this time, but I hope you are all able to find some value within this case, whether you're an end user, a CEO, director, or you own a business. Again, I urge you to think about which areas of your current processes you can improve to save money and to save your company time as well. So please connect with us if you have any further questions at eacpds.com or on LinkedIn. We will be glad to answer any questions and discuss your business in depth and how we may be able to serve you.